I'm an oncology or cancer specialist dietitian. I work with individuals who are going through their cancer treatment to show them how to nourish their body, support themselves well with diet, and learn going forward how to eat to reduce risks and help prevent cancers. We know that being overweight or carrying more body fat than we need is related to about 10 types of cancer. That is cancers of the bowel and the colon, and cancer of the colon is Singapore's #1 cancer. Cancers of the breast, the womb and the ovary, pancreas, also the kidneys, the liver, and also prostate cancer are all cancers that the incidence would be greatly reduced if more of us were at a healthier body weight. I always say at each meal, try and think, is there an extra fruit, an extra vegetable you can chop in and throw into a stir fry or onto a sort of noodle dish, rice, etc. In terms of, the foods that are unhelpful to our health and certainly help promote weight gain, we know that eating too much of the less nutrient-dense foods is unhelpful. So what do I mean by that? Very high sugary foods, sort of sugary drinks, for example, have become much more prominent in our society, and we really need to sort of try and curb our intake of those. Fatty foods, fried, deep fried. Not only do these foods have a lot of extra calories or energy, more than we often need, the deep frying process in itself is also very harmful to health, as often bad fats are promoted, like the hydrogenated or trans fats, which are also very damaging to our cells. Also too much salt. Now, in the Asian culture, we obviously eat a lot of soy sauce and salt in our diet, but we do know that a very salty diet, and certainly in this part of the world, we do see higher incidences of our stomach cancers. So instead, I really encourage people to use more fresh herbs, the lemon, the ginger, the lime, the garlic, to bring out the flavours in their food, the spices. There's also been a trend for eating out. There's hardly a corner in Singapore that doesn't have a takeaway, a hawker store or an eatery. And as I guess we all like cheap food, unfortunately what that means is that many of the ingredients used in the foods sold in these convenience type stores and food outlets is that they are not the best quality. They're going to use the cheaper oils such as palm oil, fattier cuts of meat. They're not going to put in the extra vegetables. Cheaper, more refined grains are in. And so as all our portion sizes have increased, it means that unconsciously we're taking a lot more calories, food energy, unhelpful nutrients that are all contributing to our risks of cancer. The development of cancer is quite a complicated process and involves cells dividing, and the process of cells dividing in the right way versus developing where there's mistakes or errors that cause them to go on and be basically at risk of becoming cancer cells. So when we think about diet and how that impacts on that process, it's important not to fixate on single foods. It's not taking dairy or one particular meal that causes cancer. Instead, it's the balance of our diet over many years and how that helps our cell health, helps our cells correct mistakes. Mistakes do occur in cell division all the time, but a healthy diet can help correct those mistakes and prevent a sort of rogue cell from going on to become a cancerous cell. Whereas food is something that they can really take hold of. And knowing how to nourish a loved one with food, or a person who's going through treatment, how to eat well to support your treatment, is a key part of the journey and the process. During the treatment time, there are many different types of cancers and treatments, and there can be many sort of side effects. And a very common one is that the taste is dull, or you can often have very strange or metallic tastes in your mouth. And when I talk to people about how to overcome that, I get them to try and imagine that they're kind of an experimental chef, and what they have to do is appreciate that their usual taste threshold is quite different to their normal taste threshold, or the taste threshold of the rest of the family. they may in fact need to add a lot more flavours, a lot more spices, herbs, perhaps a little bit more salt and pepper. Sometimes they find tastes or flavours that really feel right to them. I remember very early on in my days working in a big hospital in cancer, I had a young man who was putting soy sauce on ice cream. And I thought, goodness me, that, obviously most of us would think that's quite strange. But in fact, he was doing exactly what I now encourage people to do, is find the food combinations that work or resonate with the changes in taste that you have. And also you may need to change the texture. So I always say the best purchase for somebody who's maybe having a sore mouth or difficulty swallowing is a food blender or one of those handheld bar mixers, because often we need softer, easy to swallow food that you don't have to chew quite as much as normal. Smaller meals, nibbles through the day if your appetite's a bit dull, can also be a really helpful strategy. Choosing more energy dense foods, avocado oils, nut butters, will also help to, if you're losing weight or again having trouble with your appetite, to boost up your energy levels. Singapore is a food paradise, and absolutely it would be unrealistic to ask anybody, especially Singaporeans, to commit to a boring, prudent diet where they're unable to enjoy all the lovely tastes and flavour. Too often people start by restricting and taking a very sort of pessimistic look at their diet. Well, in actual fact, you can, go off to the wet markets and you can fill your trolley with so many wonderful fruits, tropical fruits, vegetables, good quality kampong type chickens, leaner cuts of meat, healthier eggs. Other simple switches we can make when we're looking at our diet is to be able to just look at the types of grains we're choosing. Just say to people, maybe switch to a light wholemeal type of rice sometimes, or better quality glass noodles, wholemeal types of pastas. These will give you more B group vitamins and more fibre and many more nutrients. They also help fill us up and keep us satisfied for a little longer. Cooking at home more often is always a helpful thing. And I say that any recipe, any family favourite can be modified. Singapore has got many fabulous national dishes, but all of them can be tweaked to be a little healthier. It might mean just using a little less oil in the cooking process, a healthier cut of meat or a little less meat. Maybe throwing in some pulses or lentils of beans mixed in with the meat. So really bulking up your plate with lots of super vegetables is always really helpful.